seconds. Charles Barkley.
Johnson around his man, drives his
Davis soars over Mark Jackson. 6 points. Stoudemire scores. Rejected. What a defensive effort that time. And Crowder looking for alley-oop. Kevin Durant. Break it out here.
with a long one, won't get it, long rebound, finds Booker. This is
Well, welcome in, Planeteers. Fallen Founder here, a.k.a. Jake, and we're going to talk a little bit about how the Suns can't put the ball in the basket anymore. We had a full slate of games, Kings, Jazz, Kings, followed by the amazing boxing match known as Mike Tyson, because that was far more impressive, the Tyson-Paul fight than the Thunder Suns game was, for sure. And we'll be joined here with a special guest all the way over from Suns Jam. We were waiting for him last week. He didn't show up. He's here now. Better late than never, as they say in Ghostbusters 2, right? Matthew Lissy.
Exactly.
What's up, Matt?
Definitely a top 10 movie right there. Ghostbusters 2? Is that the one with the
right,
women?
it's underrated.
Or is that? Oh, okay. Good to be here. Very happy to be here. I'm obviously not at home right now. But I'm excited to actually join. Yeah, so thanks for the invite, everybody.
It looks homey.
I'm in someone else's house. I spoke about earlier how I bet all my money on Tyson last night. So I lost that, lost my house, lost my kids, lost everything. So now I'm just at a random house.
That's what friends are for.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
For when you put the money on
they
the
keep telling me to stop betting, but
oh my gosh,
I never listen.
It's like Matthew Lissy, Far From Home.
Exactly.
And of course, we got Kevin all the way from the Philippines, the Thriller from Manila. Say hi to the folks, Kev.
Everyone, thank you for joining us today, and good to be back. I've got some announcement today later before the show the show ends. Oh my goodness, that Filipino grammar just coming out from
So now
out
I
of nowhere.
got the good old goose pimples or something. You're going to tell us?
No.
But not till the end of the
Nothing
show.
huge. Not till
Nothing
the end of the
huge.
show, yes.
Huge. Nothing huge. All right. Well, the Suns did play some games, and we went 1-3 in those games. And those are the 4 games, and then the 4 topics we'll be breaking down a little bit this week. But so let's start with let me ask you guys this to first get going. Can we get healthy at some point? Because we were on fire to start the season, and now it just seems like the wheels are coming off a few of these guys. Grayson Allen's been banged up. Nurk's been banged up. KD, Beal. Last night we were starting Josh Okogie, who some guys thought really didn't even deserve a roster spot. But Josh Okogie, him and Ryan Dunn trying to mix it up as starters. I understand that the Thunder were down Chet Holmgren and their backup center, but when you're down so many different options, like the Suns have been, not just in the Thunder game, but kind of throughout this week, it spells a little trouble. I mean, you guys are both doctors, right? What's your analysis?
You go, Matthew.
You might not be doctors, but you talk to them, right? You're staying in one's house, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Doctors,
all that schooling was a waste of money too. So I think this is actually more frustrating for me. I know the NBA, there's a lot of injuries going on. I mean, Jaw's out right now with a hip injury. The Pelicans are feeling it too, but there are a lot of teams in the NBA that are losing their stars. The Suns they happen to have 3 of their guys out. So it's frustrating to me because they did start out so high, 8-1, and to be 1-4 or 1-3 in the last 4 games, it's just kind of, it's a thing of like, okay, well, is this going to be a consistent thing throughout the year? Like, is this going to be the way the Suns are? Like, Beal has his injuries. Kevin Durant is a little older. He's looked really good this season. It's been his best season as a Sun, I feel like, so far. But can we actually get through stretches like months without these injuries popping up? I think it's more frustrating for Booker And it's frustrating for me to watch Booker in the situation because all the doubles, everything coming at him on the defense, and then no one else can really help him in games like last night. That's the tough part because no one can step up and hit shots. But I think that the Suns can get through this thing with the injuries. But I always just think about the future. I'm like, is this the way it's going to be? Like, that's the hard part for me is like, is it going to be a constant thing with the injuries? Because in the NBA, you get hurt, you're going to be like, let me take a couple weeks off. So I think that's the way these guys are going to be, especially Kevin Durant. But I don't know. I think that this is a tough stretch for the Suns. We'll get over it. I'm sure next week will be better. But this was definitely the worst week so far of the season.
I think we knew this with Kevin Durant, with Bradley Beal, their injury history. Some of these other guys, injuries, they're going to happen. It's how you respond to them. Unfortunately, when it rains, it pours in Phoenix, and that's been the situation so far with the. Nurk and Allen, some of these guys are being listed as questionable. You almost kind of wonder if it's best for them not to play, because if they do try and play, are you getting 100%, and are they going to be right back, on the injury report? Kev, are you worried at all about these guys finding a way to win without some of these stars?
Yeah, I think it's what Lissy said, everything about it, and I think Booker, to his credit, I think he still has that aftertaste. Let me just say, for the lack of a better word, aftertaste of that food poisoning that he had last week, which made him.
There's been a lot of questions about this food poisoning, and Kevin still thinks he's got the taste of it in his mouth. Go on,
No,
Kevin.
but I think he still has some of that left. He's still feeling a little sick, because if you remember last week, right, there was a game that he was out. Was he out or just questionable? I think he was out. But to me, it's the opportunities of the other guys to show up. Josh Okogie has been a bright spot ever since he came back. But I'm just thankful that we're not towards the end of the season when this happened. It's a long season. Players can get healthy.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, actually, it looks like Book did play in all.
But he's just, you don't notice him on the court. So
right?
Yeah.
But he's kind of like available. The Iron Mike Booker of the NBA.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he was out there, but his legs looked bad. That's all I remember from the fight. His legs didn't look good. So
tell Booker to just keep punching. He's got to knock him down early.
Yeah,
it's going to keep interweaving this throughout the show.
It was very noticeable during that Kings game when he just ran out of gas on that fourth quarter.
Well, and the air balls,
and the air ball towards the end of regulation to send it to win the game. That was just awful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a tough one. Let's talk a little bit before we get into kind of the specifics of the games and talk about that first Kings game. We ended up going down 127 to 118. This was the first game of the week in Phoenix. Excuse me, first game for Suns Planet since we last recorded. Let's see, Bradley Beal actually played in this game, getting 28 points. This was kind of early to mid food poisoning cycle for Devin Booker. So he was hanging in there. But he ended up second on the team, 23 points, 9 of 22, 3 of 10. But he did have those 12 assists, which were nice. Nurk was able to play this game, but Nurk, only got 15 minutes, 0 of 4, 7 rebounds. This was another complete disappearance of Nurk. Lissy, I know Suns Planet and the Planeteers have been supportive of Nurk, trying to find his role in this kind of new system. And, we know he's a big interior defender that can pass the ball. He gets a lot of rebounds. Do we have to be a little nervous now about Nurk? Because is it too much of a pattern at this point to where it's just like, no, he'll be fine. You just got to learn to hit that three. Or is it something else?
I think the second week of the season, he really hit it. He was fantastic. He really made everyone eat crow. The way that he actually – do I have an echo or am I good?
No, you're good.
Okay, cool. It just sounds like an opera in here. I think it's just the room. Okay. I think he's been fantastic. I think the last week was really a struggle because I think he might have been injured, right? He suffered an injury. He's maybe coming back a little bit earlier from that just to help the team, help Devin Booker. But he hasn't been the same. I think it's just the way the team is. I think we're going to go through spurts where we're going to be really efficient. We're going to look like a championship contender, and then we're going to go through injuries because that's just the way this team is kind of built. Nurk last year was great. He had his best season in the longest time, obviously, first year with the Suns. After the DeAndre Ayton trade, him coming over here from Portland's like, is he going to be healthy? He was healthy last year. This year, he's kind of been a little bit hurt. So I think that's kind of plaguing him a little bit. The fact that he's actually sticking in these games, I do like it. But the depth is where I'm like really focused on too. I think the center position, I just think of it as one. I never really single out one of those guys. I think the way that they just can have a good rotation with Oso, Plumlee, who I don't think played last night either again. Plumlee and Oso, and then also Nurk. Those three guys I feel like can really feed off of each other coming off the bench and just making sure that they're helping the team in the current moment with the rotation that with what Bud has. But sometimes it's just not going to look good. So my biggest thing this year is like you focus on the rest of the team. The centers, I'm not too worried. They can just do their job and be okay. That's fine. But if you don't have your stars, obviously with Beal and then Kevin Durant, who's an MVP candidate right now, it's going to look a lot worse. So to rely on those guys to do too much, it's never going to look good. To really kind of, be like, okay, we got to focus on get him the ball in the paint, let him work. I don't want to do that. I want to focus on everybody else. He can do his stuff, and it's going to look good. The statistics will look good. They'll have some good passes. But the other guys really need to be the focus and not Nurk and the other centers.
So it's kind of like, you've heard the term running back by committee, where it's just a brigade of running backs out there alternating snaps or drives. The Suns have a center by committee, and maybe that's the best case. I mean, we've seen Oso Ighodaro has some flashes, especially for a second rounder. It's been really impressive. And Plumlee is not the Drew Eubanks tear that we saw last year, where every time we bring in Drew Eubanks, we were like, oh man, okay, let's try and get through these minutes as fast as we can. Like now it's Plumlee's in there and you're like, oh, I didn't even know Nurk took a seat. Okay. We're still
yeah, exactly. Like they fill each other's roles pretty well. I mean, I think the matchups are always in someone else's favor. Obviously with Oso coming in with the smaller lineups, and he's kind of improving also, which is like the pick and roll. I think he's doing a great job of learning a lot from the veterans on the floor, making a few mistakes here or there, but you can see spurts to where he's really growing. So in hindsight, it's kind of nice that Nurk is kind of having an off week a little bit, so you can get more Oso minutes and kind of just see what we have there. Just kind of see, because you know what we have, I feel like, with this team when they're at their best, but it's about the other guys really stepping up around them when they're out.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, I think it's definitely going to be important moving forward to remember that this team, not a bad record, 9-4, right? It's 2 losses to the Kings, a loss to the Lakers, loss to the Thunder. That's not, and those are all 3 teams that are quality teams. I know there's injuries and stuff like that, but 9-4 is not. If you would have told me that through the first 13 games of the season we'd be at 9-4, I'd say, oh, we're figuring it out early this year. I feel like as much as and Lissy, you and John go through this a lot on Suns Jam. The immediate frustration that the fan base feels after a loss, it's just like, oh, was this how it's going to be? But then when you kind of come up for air and you're like, oh, we're 9-4. Okay.
Yeah, I'm always
8,
Yeah, I'm always in the mindset of like, I'm going to overreact, because I think we've just seen this team last year just struggle so much throughout the season and just be like, if we have it together, we have a chance in the playoffs. I just don't buy that anymore. I feel like this team needs to really get going. That's why this hot start was so great, because it really fed you something that we've been wanting to be fed like for the longest time with this team since we got Kevin Durant. It was like, okay, this is a legit contender, it seems like. So that's why I think these injuries and stuff do set me back too, because I'm just like, all right, well, maybe they don't have it. Maybe they can't compete because they can't stay on the floor. So I do overthink this a lot and overreact with the rest of the Jamsters that watch us. So that's just the way it's going to be this season, because I don't really buy into the tweets like, hey, we're 9-4, we're fine, everything's great. It's like we've done that so many times. I'm like, I don't care. I'm like, we have a problem.
Go over there to our friends over at Fanning the Flames, listen to Paul and Justin and Duarte, and just listen. It's all, we're going to win out the rest of the year. As was posted earlier, Suns Fever's got it down, man. 78-4. That's what he predicted. We're fine. We're on schedule. It's that 4 hit early. Get ready for the run. That 69 game streak. Heyo. Kev, do you have any concerns about Big Nurk? I mean, we've seen the games where he just dominates the boards, but is it just me, or is the vibe of the last few weeks that we're seeing him get played off the court or, put on the pine early?
Yeah, I think for Nurk, it's just a stretch. To Matt's point here, he is nursing an ankle injury. He's been in the injury report for the last couple of games, so I think that's just that. Plus, of course, whenever the rotation is being disrupted by injuries, the flow of the game gets disrupted too. The minutes that the guys coming off the bench are longer, and that really disrupts I think the flow of the offense and the defense and the assignments or the matchups, right? So I think that's just that. I won't overreact on this one about Nurk until probably in 20 games, 25 games when
Get a full quarter of the season under him.
Yeah, exactly.
No, like I said, the Kings are a good team. I don't really have them in the great category. I think they're playoff contenders. I don't think they're really built for a stretch run, but and I was a little surprised that they went after DeRozan in the offseason. That De'Aaron Fox is already a fantastic mid-range jump shooter. Sabonis can hit the mid-range. Sabonis is not a very strong three-point shooter. Fox is not a very strong three-point shooter. So they said, you know what? What if we went out and got one more of the exact same thing? That way, it never matters what happens to one of these guys. We'll always have more options. It kind of reminds me of when we so readily embraced the mid-range mafia of Chris Paul, Booker, Ayton, and Durant. And then we kind of quickly realized, we should probably still shoot threes as well. And the Kings are towards the bottom of the league right now in shooting threes. So that's what's kind of interesting. But in the end, DeMar DeRozan was the guy that was breaking our hearts. And it feels like forever ago, but this was the overtime game, that first Kings game, where we did have a chance to win it in regulation. Just were not able to get it done. And then in overtime, Lissy and I talked about this a little bit, that Ryan Dunn did not get to come back in OT. And I think Bud, in a fit of desperation, perhaps because we couldn't seem to stop the Kings, went to a 5-man small ball lineup. I think Royce O'Neal was our center. And it didn't work. We started shooting threes and we stopped stopping anyone else. Not that we were stopping them at all in overtime anyway, but the game was close until it wasn't, which is basically when overtime tipped off. So that was kind of the story and the big takeaway from that game. DeMar DeRozan put 34 on us, and then as soon as he would miss a shot, they'd go back to Fox and he'd start putting the buckets in. So it was a tough game, but hey, Tyus Jones, 6 of 10 from 3. That won't carry into the other games this week, but 6 of 10. I'll take that. Way to go, Tyus. All right.
There's one more highlight that DeRozan did. Lean on Bradley Beals.
Oh God, we had a couple of injuries. There was the DeMar DeRozan slide into or land on Beals' knee, right? And then there was the next one, John Collins banging knees with booked it. And I don't know if you guys saw that because they replayed it. It was one of those moments. It wasn't like the Joe Theismann one that everyone talks about, where it was just like, oh, like, God, let's watch this again in slow motion. Watch this guy wreck his knee for the rest of his career. And this is NFL football. But it was something that they're like, oh, I think they might have bumped knees on that play because they were both sitting there like grimacing, grabbing knees. Yeah. And they're like, let's take a look at what happened. And you see just full speed and you see like the reverberations of their knees. And I'm like, good God, wrap Booker in plastic wrap and bubble wrap immediately. Like, I was terrified. I was like, oh, yeah. He's out for a week or two. And he got up, he started doing the stretches and the wobbling his knee back out. And oh God, that made me nervous. It wasn't like I said, the knees didn't go left or right, thank God, but it was like a straight dead on collision. It was not
I thought for sure Bradley Beal is going to come out of that game, but he just toughened it up.
That's true. But
that's what he does, right?
Yeah, and
you
know him, right?
Yeah.
My name is
Am I cutting out sometimes too? Like my screen, is it going black?
There was just one moment there. For
Okay, cool. Okay.
No, yeah. But no, Bradley Beal, yeah, I
Only the
thought he
best
was
for you
going to
guys.
sit out that game, the rest of that game, because
Yeah.
he's a little sensitive to the injury bug. But otherwise, I feel like Bradley Beal's been having a fun season, and I've been reading interviews and stuff about him. Go to brightsideofthesun.com, check out the latest. But also just around the league, people saying Bradley Beal's actually just having fun this year. Focused on having fun, knows how to play the game, wants to contribute. Booker said he wants to get him more involved offensively. So I think he doesn't quite look as much as a fish out of water as he did last year. What do you guys think about Beal's play so far this year?
I think for Bradley Beal, he's just taking off all the pressure to himself. I think that's the key. He's just playing the flow of the game and choosing his or picking his spots on when to shoot and when to pass, when to play make. I think that's been the key for him. And actually, he's been one of the most consistent out of the big three, apart from Kevin Durant. Um, I think we're seeing like a reinvention of Bradley Beal this season.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
What do you think, Lissy?
I totally agree. I think that he's been playing fantastic. The one thing though, I think the first 9 games, you didn't really worry about injuries too much. So you wake up the next day and it's like, okay, Kevin Durant's out for the rest of the year. Like stuff like that can be aggravating. But when you were watching Bradley Beal, like it was kind of like, you know what? I don't feel like he's going to get hurt this year. But then he gets hurt and you're like, damn, dude, like it's just going to continue to happen. But that's besides the point, because I think that the way he's been playing this year is kind of like the way he played the end of last year, where we didn't really have any guys stepping up in that leadership role to be aggressive, to be physical, because Kevin Durant gave up basically at the end of the year. No one was buying into the system. Bradley Beal seemed like he was a guy kind of leading this team in a way. I don't think he's been the leader because I think that's been Kevin Durant, but he's been playing really good at getting to the rim, like just finding wide open shots, getting his shots when he wants, and just taking times with the second unit, which is my favorite part. I feel like when he's playing with with Royce, with Grayson Allen at the time, and a small ball lineup with Plumlee, I think that's always been fun to watch because I think he can do what he wants and it's like his time to shine. So he's really thriving, I feel like, in those moments. Nothing's been really consistent, I feel like, game to game to game, but you do see the spurts in him where it's like, dude, he's killer. He just hit 5 straight points to keep this game close. He's getting us a lead, because that was one thing we missed last year. Whenever this team would be down or by 5 or 6 points, it would just kind of plummet to like 20 points. And it's like, okay, the game's over. But Bradley Beal's been that guy, and there's other guys on the team too that are doing this, where they're coming in and they're just getting big buckets at big times, and that's what we can count on from him. But can he just get to the rim and just finish? Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's certain times, like I feel like he's just so chaotic at the rim, and it's kind of scary now to watch because he gets up there so high and he falls so hard, but he just is not able to really finish around the rim at times when trying to draw the foul. He's getting the fouls and stuff, but it's like, does he need to do that as much as he should because of the injury problems? You know what I mean? Should he settle more into like a distant role from the basket? But that's just his game, and I think he'll just continue to do that. I just hope that he doesn't continue to pile up these injuries like he's just kind of started this last week.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Derrick Rose after all the ACL injuries, and it still goes up there. So it's kind of scary to see.
Yeah, I guess it's a habit. So
it reminds me a little bit too of like Booker attacking the basket. Especially, I caught this in the last Kings game where he attacks and then he falls to the side and slides off the court, and falls to the other side and slides off the court. And I'm just like, man, maybe don't jump up as high, because those landings are going to take a toll. It's like having I'm going to go do another football reference here, but having a mobile quarterback that's a little maybe undersized, like a Kyler Murray or a Jalen
Daniels.
Jalen Daniels.
Jaden Daniels, my quarterback in 2 fantasy leagues.
There we go. Yeah, exactly.
He's the last few weeks, but yeah,
he runs. He's fast. He's quick. He's agile. But man, every time somebody actually hits him, you're like, no, that was a bad idea.
It's like, careful,
slide, do the give up slide. Yeah, and that's why, gosh, you mentioned him. I've got Tua Tagovailoa, and the guy went out for a concussion, and then he comes back, and 2 games later, he's tackling. He puts his head down, and he's trying to tackle somebody after he threw.
They just have a knack for it, man.
Oh my God, stop that! Like, we don't want to see you do that, like hand spasm thing again on the field that freaks us all out when we watch it, man. That's why Juan Carlos Araneda does not let his kids watch NFL football. I don't know if that's true or not, but what's up, JC from Chile? He does not he's got some youngins. And honestly, if I saw Tua get laid out, I'd probably move my kids into another room and be like, don't worry, he's just having a nap. But let's talk a little bit more about that Jazz game. The Jazz have not been a strong team this year. They are 2-8. Or excuse me, they were 2-8 in this game, or they finished 2-8 after the game is how it would be. But I think most importantly, Suns took care of business, which exactly what you needed. And then the Jazz went to go beat the Mavericks in NBA Cup play. So way to go, Utah. Appreciate that, keeping us competitive there in the group play.
Yeah.
But the Utah Jazz, they've got some degree of talent. They're not going to make the playoffs. Lauri Markkanen, a good player. John Collins looked like that super, I don't know. For a while, he was like the guy down in Atlanta, right? And then Atlanta was just always like, we'll trade him. And I never realized why. And now I kind of get it because he goes off like one game in 5. And that's the John Collins experience. And then some other players from the Jazz. Colin Sexton didn't really scare me, but Jordan Clarkson decided to come in and start knocking down threes at the end. And I thought he, as always, he just wants to score points on the Suns. And then Kyle Filipowski, the second round pick, still can't believe he slipped to the second round. But he had a nice game too against the Suns, putting in 18 points. But it was Phoenix, Devin Booker leading the way, 31 points, 11 of 20. 5 of 9 from 3. Bradley Beal, this was his last game of the week, 24 points, 8 of 15, shooting 4 of 7 from 3. Grayson Allen had a nice little game, 15 points, 4 of 9 from 3-point land. And this was the no Nurk game. No Nurk, no problem. Plumlee had 15 and 14. And also Oso Iguodaro came in, 6 points, 12 rebounds. What were some of the takeaways that you guys had from the Jazz game? Did you just feel like, good, we're not dropping things to like crappy teams, like that we're not getting? I feel like last year would have been like the Spurs games where we kept losing to the Spurs and we were like, we have to win those ones, and we couldn't do it. Like, to me, this was good. Put them away. I felt comfortable throughout, except when Jordan Clarkson decided to try and bring a flamethrower there at the end. But
And I'm kind of happy that Jordan Clarkson gets his because he's part Filipino.
there you go. Hey,
but not against the Suns, of course.
when are you gonna get Jordan Clarkson on the show?
I don't know, man. He hasn't texted me in a while. But I'll reach out to him.
He's probably busy with the election stuff
Yeah.
or something. Yeah. Now he's probably freed up.
But my main takeaway here is that Bradley Beal had a strong game. I think it's he started it basically, and then just Devin Booker just finished it when he got subbed out on the fourth quarter. I think it was under 7 minutes when he subbed out, and that's when Booker really hit it off with his 31. But yeah, overall, a team effort on this one. Like you said, Grayson Allen had 15. Also added 6, and 15 from Plumlee. This is, I think, the best game of Plumlee offensively.
He's reliable. He's got
he's
that,
hitting us
Sean
with
Marion Matrix vibe going on, where you're like, how did he end up with that many points? Like, I didn't see him take like a shot.
Yeah.
And he's just sitting there by the basket, just like, if it comes next to me, I'm going to put it right back in. You guys know that, right?
Yeah, and you're just gonna notice him with his gorgeous reverse dunks or reverse layups, and a couple of finger rolls in the basket. So.
He's sneaky athletic for a big.
Yeah, I mean, he's been, I think, athletic coming out of college, but injuries and age takes a toll on you.
Yeah, he's been one of my favorite. Before the season, I predicted like we have this award on our Jammy show. It's surprise the fuck out of you award, which is like pick a guy that's gonna surprise you. I picked Plumlee because I'm like he's gonna be consistent. He's gonna be a guy that's like, all right, this is nice to have backing up Nurkic, and it's nice.
But
to have
he's
Oso
surprisingly consistent.
He is. Yeah, I've loved him this year. Every time he's in, I feel like he's been really good. Like when I say really good, I don't mean like all-star status level like
Bench
that,
nerd.
but I do mean that it's good enough. Like I said, like if this team has just a good center that's good, decent, that's fine. And he's playing that role as a backup. So I love the way he's been this year. He's been one of my favorite players, obviously. and I'm a big fan
Well,
of
and I
his.
like it because it allows Nurk in the games that he actually plays a full game to be more aggressive on defense.
Yeah,
He can
Yeah.
hit people a little harder because
yeah,
if
some
he
hard
comes off
fouls.
the court, it's okay. That's
Nurk
like
is
saying
there.
1A,
Yeah.
1B is swapping out. It's different, if, oh gosh, KD's out. Gosh, do we want to go Royce or Bull? Like that, then it's like we have to make like serious thought going into it and strategic decisions. Right now, it's okay. Plumlee's coming in. We got 6 more fouls and a guy that's going to rebound the hell out of the ball.
Yeah. No, it's interesting to see him play because I feel like he just fills a lot of holes that when he comes in for the Suns and what they need from a center, a backup center. And it's interesting because it's like you go back to last year and stuff, what we had, which was miserable. But this year, it's just like the one focus going into the year was like, hey, can we rebound? Are we going to be okay at the center position? I feel like he kind of eased our minds now just a little bit with that center position because of how well he's been playing.
Mhm.
And then the growth of Oso and then the way Nurk's been playing in spurts, like it makes you kind of relax with that position. Like like for me, I'm wondering like, what is everyone else doing on the floor? You know what I mean? Like I mentioned earlier, like that's what I'm focused on. And it just makes it easy to be like, all right, we're okay with center, but like what else is everyone else doing on the court at every moment?
I think my main takeaway about Plumlee, aside from everything that you guys have mentioned already, is that he's not Eubanks. That's it, folks.
Man, we were really trying to talk ourselves into Eubanks, right? I mean, like he'd have like one great
He started
looking
out good.
dunk. Yeah, he'd have like a great dunk, and then we'd be like, "Oh, Eubanks! What'd you guys crank?
What a
Banks?
steal.
Spank banks? Yeah, something like we were trying to push that
Yeah.
so much,
I-
and then it would be like 8
It
games
lasted
in
a
a
week.
row, just like,
Yeah.
why is he on the court?
Yeah, it was bad.
I think our first reaction in the first few games of the season last year is that, wow, we finally got a backup center who can dunk after, after a few years of mid-range post-ups, mid-range shots
Right.
fade away.
Mhm.
But oh
I
my
will say
goodness.
that the Jazz game, this was not the Drew Eubanks game, revenge game. He only got just under 3.5 minutes of playtime. I forgot he was even on the Jazz, and they did not
Me
have
too.
Walker Kessler even available. So Drew is already.
I
not
saw.
getting
They
it done.
overpaid him.
Yeah,
Yes,
definitely.
yeah.
They did. I feel like you have to just throw money if you have it as somebody else. Like Jock
Yeah,
Landale
well,
got
that
paid
happened to
too.
the Thunder, right? Was that a couple years ago where like they had to give everyone like $1 million bonus on their roster because you had like everyone talks about the salary cap and the apron, second apron, but there's also a floor, and if you don't hit that floor, you
Yeah.
basically have to pay everyone extra. So like
Yeah.
all the guys at the end of their like this is when the Thunder were still like tanking for and just banking picks for the future, but. So I don't know, 3 years ago maybe, and I just remember I was like, "Wait, what is going on?" All the guys like woke up on their roster and they're like, "We just got $1 million bonus because we were so underpaid." Like they had just so many young players on their team, so I was like, "God, imagine that job!" Like you're sitting there and you're just like, "Hope I get a pizza party this year," and everyone else is regular.
like
job.
your
That one,
Christmas
they're like,
party.
"We're terrible, but we're also young. We don't have good contracts yet, so we're all getting $1 million
Yeah.
in our
That'd be
Christmas
awesome.
bonus."
Like, yeah, at my job, we're worried about our Christmas party and and how much we're gonna have to spend on it, which is
Yeah.
$1,500. So, but
To me,
that
it's
doesn't
like
even help me. Like, could we just split that and take that home? I don't want to have a Christmas party. I can
Right.
care less.
that's
me,
always kind of the bummer part too. Is working with colleagues. You're like, hey, well, at least we'll get like a cool party, right? I don't want that. Just give me the $20. I don't want to hang
Exactly.
out with you.
Like,
You're
let me
I
just
thought
take
we
that
were
home.
friends.
No,
We are.
to
I
me,
just
the-
like,
not a
don't want to
family.
have to be paid to hang out with you.
Yeah.
to me the Eubanks thing is like when there's like a bad employee who's not performing and then he still gets his Christmas bag
Yeah.
during Christmas or bonus.
You know what? I just realized I should have left some of our old drops in because we could have played the old Eubanks drop, but that's okay. I'll make a
He
quick
just
comment and then
deleted
we'll
as soon as he's just gone. You're like, "Yep, you're out of here."
exactly.
That's the first one
Yeah.
to be
So
deleted.
forgotten. Well, I feel like backup center, and I'm going to see how many references to the NFL I can get in this show. The backup center is a lot like the backup quarterback on your football team. Everyone usually loves them, except when they don't. So it's usually they love it. I can think of a lot of backup centers on the Suns over the years, just like random names. So I'm like, oh, that guy would come in, he'd block shots and rebound, like Stephen Hunter, Bo Outlaw, like some of our backup bigs that would come in, and like Lou Amundsen. I mean, more of a power forward, but still like, oh, those energy guy bigs off the bench, loved them. Drew Eubanks, couldn't stand him. So I will say, much happier with the Plum Dog experience. The 2.0, we already had Miles. I always have to remind myself about Miles.
I still call him Miles all the time.
Yeah,
on the pod every time.
I will say this, Josh, our producer in the chat. Welcome back to Josh, everyone. He's on the controls with me today, hanging out with us. But he's got this great point. I love the Suns Jams Awards because they have awards like guy I'd want to work a 10-hour shift with at the factory and then grab a beer with at the local bar and talk politics with award.
So who would that be though on the team?
Oh. Who would you want to work 10 hours with at the factory, grab a beer, the local bar with, afterwards, and then talk politics with? That's a good question.
Maybe it would be fun with Katie, though. Well, obviously, if you...
Kate, oh, man, I feel like he would be the worst person to talk politics with at the bar afterward. Like, he'd be fun to work with a little bit.
Yeah.
But I feel like as soon as you'd be like, so seriously, this Senate election, he'd be like, just focus on ball, man. Just focus on ball.
You clown.
Yeah, exactly. Block. Man, I don't even like drinking with you anymore. Like,
I know.
Like,
I just feel terrible as a person.
You think like we're great friends at work, and at the end you'd be like, I don't even think he likes me now.
Yeah, that'd be miserable, man. It would take a long time to recover from that too. A lot of therapy.
Exactly. Kev, what about you?
What about me?
Yeah,
I don't know, man.
The team you want to work a long shift with, have a beer with, and then talk local politics with?
I don't think we'd relate because the politics here and there are different. I would say if I'm just going to grab a beer with someone on the team, I would just go with Book.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it's a great choice.
Yeah. I feel like he'd be very quiet and just...
Yeah. I feel like he'd sit back at the bar afterwards and be like, I'll take a red wine. You're like, dude, we're getting beer. It's a local pub. And he'd be like, Cabernet.
Yeah, I don't know. That'd be interesting. He's a very serious person, I hear. So obviously he looks like it, but he...
Yeah, maybe he's... Maybe if we talk about cars, maybe I could get him to talk.
There you go. There you go. And maybe it's a 10-hour shift at a car factory. It could be that. We could mix that up. I would probably go Damian Lee. I feel like Damian Lee would be a fun one. I always see him like running behind the interviews after the show. Like he'd be that guy at work that just is like, you're like, oh my God, it's only Tuesday. Yeah. Still so many days left in this work week. And he'd be like, hey man, beers after work. Woo! And you'd be like, you have so much energy. I love that guy.
Yeah, he's the energy guy for the Suns for sure. And he hasn't been playing a lot. So that's just weird.
True. But he's there, waving the towels. He's there putting in his 10-hour shift. So he's there. But all right. Well, Josh, should we bring Mr. Lissy into the boom room?
What's the name of that nightclub of yours again?
You talking about the boom boom room?
Yeah, the boom boom room. That's it. Yeah. Yeah.
How do I get into there?
Oh, you're in.
Did you a full body pick?
If you saw me, I was blocking out Luca. Of course, his mom's always allowed in, but we keep Luca out.
God,
the groupies are allowed in. They're loyal. They always run up a tab. They can treat everyone nice. So Luca's mom's in. Luca is not allowed in. Just like his defense is trash, so we keep it outside. Did you see his highlights recently? Oh my God, he was letting.
Well, we're talking about the Jazz game, right? He lost the game.
We were, yeah. But now we're going to talk about you, Mr. Matthew Lissy, and a little bit about Suns Jam, as we always do with our special guests, and we ask them a little bit about who they are and how they became a Suns fan. And
really? I'm really bad at this stuff.
Yeah, we go back in time here.
So what do you want to hear about?
Have you always? I mean, because you're like a Dallas Cowboys fan, right?
Yeah,
you're a New York Yankees fan.
I'm a Cowboys fan. I'm a Yankees fan. So Cowboys fan because my dad's been a Cowboys fan since '70s, since early on when they were really good. That's the reason I'm a Cowboys fan. That's the one thing that we bonded over was the Dallas Cowboys. Yankees fan, that comes from my brother-in-law. Before the Diamondbacks were here, there was no baseball, obviously. So I was a Yankees fan
Brother-in-law,
before that.
not named John Voiter, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, an
Okay.
older brother-in-law that we don't want to get into that because that would be a therapy session. That's why I don't want to do this because I get so emotional talking about the past and everybody leaving. I'm just joking. But yeah, I think that that's the reason
Kevin
I'm
drops off right there. He's like,
Yeah,
not,
he's like,
not
"This is
sticking around for this.
But Suns fan, the same reason. I feel like that's the one that kind of keeps me humble. Even though the Yankees and Cowboys have sucked for so long, since I've been a Cowboys fan, they've sucked. They've absolutely sucked. But are we talking about the Suns though? You just want to hear about the podcast?
Well, it's just yeah. I mean, so when did Suns Jam get going? You guys been putting in the years on this at this point.
Yeah,
right?
so it's been ever since right before COVID. So we started that year when COVID happened. We started that year, and what we were doing, I would go out to John's house. We record 3 pods, put them out throughout the week, and then COVID happened, and the bubble happened, and then once COVID happened, it made more sense. Let's do online. It's such a weird thing because before COVID, no one would do Zoom. Everyone had to be in the same vicinity to do pods, but now everyone's just separate. It's like, oh, we can just do it Zoom, right?
Mhm.
Before it seemed crazy to do it that way. So I would drive out there and do it that way until we were doing it separately because of COVID. And then it just became a thing. I feel like everyone just started to do that. A lot of the pods I listened to was always in person, over the radio. Sometimes people would call in and stuff like that, but that was never a thing, I felt like. But yeah, so we started doing that, the bubble run, and then the Suns started getting good. I got Chris Paul. We started the next year, obviously doing post game every game. Suns Geek did the same thing. I don't think he does every game because like last night I was talking to him. I'm like, it's impossible to do every game with one person because obviously if you're watching Suns Jam, I was on the last pod, but I wasn't on the one prior and then one prior because of being sick. So luckily we have John, another person to fill in to help him out. So it's easier to doing it that way. I do think that ever since, the bubble run and stuff, the Suns have been on the radar in the NBA. So I think it's really helped the pod and stuff just grow. Obviously, during the finals run and stuff, that was the most epic. I feel like the most fun that I've had on the pod, just doing it with I think it's the solar panel. Sorry, with Dave King, Espo. And then we had Saul on there too. Now they're at PHNX. Obviously, they broke away, but we were doing that with them. So that was a lot of fun. If you go back and watch those videos, those were hilarious. There's a lot of drinking, a lot of things I might have said that I regret. So you can go back, find those, and cancel me if you want.
Find those regrets. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it was just a fun thing. I think when John and we lived together for a little bit, and we're like, we should just do a Suns pod. Or we should just do wine and Suns, talk about Suns and have some wine. We never did when we lived together. But as soon as
it's very high class.
Yeah, and then as soon as we started
doing Bordeaux. Yes, you can tell because it comes from the region. It says so on the bottle. Yeah.
Well, I think JJ and LeBron had that thing, so they kind of stole
That's
our
right.
idea.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, God, I forgot
So
about
that's how it started, and obviously we just keep it consistent. John's been with Brightside for 5 years now. I've been off and on. Now I'm full time, basically, a staff writer there. So yeah, that's it, man. Just grinding it out, and it becomes a job. You look at the game differently now. It's not as enjoyable to me. It's not. I don't think so because it's just like it's a second job. It's a part-time job. I do love the Suns, obviously, but it is a thing. It's like, okay, well, I got to watch the game, take notes, do a pod, have something written for tomorrow, or something like that. So it's a lot, but it's definitely worth it.
Well, and I'll say this too, because I know in my personal experience, so I've worked in politics for a lot of years, and it was very interesting. Of course, when I was out in Washington, D.C., I'd see all these people that I'm like, and you ran for president, and you ran for president, you got smoked when you ran for president. And I'd see all these people, and then when I'd go back home, they'd be like, oh my God, what are they like? Is it like as if it was some sort of like kind of low tier version of like, they'd be like, oh, that guy, I voted for him once, or that gal, oh my God, she's Congresswoman. And so but for me, it was just like, yeah, well, they underpay me now. And
yeah, you think of them differently, right?
And there was one guy I still remember. My roommate at the time actually volunteered to go walk my dog, and he ran into a senator. I think his name was Chris Dodd. I think was his name. And he ran for president and as the Democrats with the Democrats in 2008, I think. And this was like after he had retired from the Senate, I think. So this was like almost a decade later. And my roommate's out there, and he's just like walking my dog like down the street, and he runs into former U.S. Presidential candidate Chris Dodd and former longtime senator who's like now a lobbyist. And apparently Chris just turned to him and said, "That's a nice looking dog there, young man." And he's like, "Thanks, Chris." Just like kept walking. And so I guess in my little spiel there is, you've been covering the Suns for a long time. You've gone to the press conferences now. Do you still get like a little nervous to be like, "Oh my God, that's Devin Booker, that's Bol Bol," or is it kind of like, "Hey, you guys made my note taking suck last week"?
No, it's definitely. I think the first time I went, so last year was my first time going preseason. I remember John texted me like, "Hey, you want to go cover the game? First preseason game." Like, what, me? Are you sure? Obviously, I said, "Yeah, hell yeah, I do want to." But first, I'm like, why would I go? That doesn't make any sense. Why would it be in the same room with like John Bloom and all those guys, or Bickley, like those guys post game? Like, how am I even? But writing and stuff like that. I guess I just didn't think what it would lead to. But first doing it the first time was kind of like NBA 2K, like where you walk around and stuff backstage or whatever. It just felt so weird. But ever since then, I think it's just been kind of normal. I am nervous to ask the question. I haven't asked the question yet. That could be nerve-wracking. But the whole process of just being there with around people, it's just normal. You just realize that everyone's just human. And it's just, it doesn't, you know what I mean? Like people are always like out there trying to get autographs. Like I used to be that way. You know what I mean?
Right.
Now it's just like,
and now
right,
you're inside. You're like, "I'm here for your statement on why
yeah,
you
now
did
it's
so poorly."
Yeah, now it's
I'll
just
still
like,
take
well,
that autograph later.
It's just a job, you know what I mean? That's all it is, and it's just everyone doing their job. So it's definitely a different outlook, but it's been great, man.
Well, this is I don't know if you've been seeing this. This was something Kevin covered with Gerald Bourget of PHNX too.
We did.
The continue the Suns Twitter that's always trying to tell Suns media folks, why don't you keep them accountable? You got to call them out, tell them they're playing bad. Do you ever feel like that's a part of your role, as a writer for Brightside, or when you do go to those games or press conferences?
Yeah. I think that's always the number one thing I write about. I think it's part of the job. I think everyone knows about John and how he had an interaction with Kevin Durant, and the fact that Kevin Durant doesn't respect what he does, and that he puts out pieces about trading players and stuff like that. That's just part of the job. I don't think it's anything that these players really should buy into or really believe. You know what I mean? Because we're just people writing. We don't really have any, I feel like, credit to really go back and be like, this is our profession. It's just something that we love to do and love to write, but it's nothing that we really want to hurt anybody with. It's just a different perspective. It's a different way to kind of attack, not in a violent way, obviously, but just attack these players and be like, there's certain things that we see that we want to present to the fans and see how they feel. So it is a job for sure, but I don't like the fact that, some of the players just have such a hard time with the media. I think the media can cross the line and the media can be scum, but at the same time, it's like, it's kind of weird that the players even care like what John writes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I mean? Like Kevin Durant, like, why does he care so much? John, who has a fat 16-year-old chihuahua at his house that just sits on his lap while he watches the game. Why does he care? Why does he care about what he's writing? You know what I mean?
Do better,
like,
be better.
Why does that matter? And I love the fact, do better, be better. That's fine. But it's like to, call someone a clown because they put stuff out that he doesn't agree with. It's kind of weird to me.
It's kind of amusing too, because it's earned media. Every time you guys are writing, I mean, Kevin Durant doesn't really need the help, of course, at this point in his career. But every time you write an article and publish it, that's more eyes, more focus on Kevin Durant. It's more towards his brand. And so it's kind of like, most companies or people in general that are in business have to pay for advertisement. You guys are freely advertising these people and stories about them. And really, unlike, I'm not going to name some of the sites, but the ones that are just like the 5 best places to ship this trash player out to. And like Brightside doesn't really do that. You guys do take a look at like what might be good fits and whatnot, but like it doesn't feel as clickbaity as some of the other, like Sports Illustrated has gone from like, I remember everyone in the 90s was like, oh my God, new Sports Illustrated's here. I wonder what's happening now. And now it's like, I don't know if AI is writing half their articles. It's like, where Kevin Durant and Devin Booker should be traded right now. And it's like, they shouldn't. So why are we even writing this article? Like, if there's something there, you guys actually cover it. But if there's nothing there, there's these other sites that are just like, here's what Rockets should just send 1 first-round pick and take Kevin Durant back. And it's like, why are we writing that?
I know. Yeah, I totally understand it. Like, last year when there were rumors about Kevin Durant wanting, a different roster, he was really happy with the roster that was currently. And you kind of felt like this year, Bradley Beal kind of spilled that. Like, he spilled the beans, just kind of saying, like, yeah, last year, like, compared to this year, our roster is more full. It makes more sense. It's more competitive. It's better. It's better fit for all of us. So then Durant last year, there was stuff that leaked that said this team wasn't good enough. He denied it, whatever, but we're still going to talk about it. You know what I mean? And then he messages John or whatever. It's like, you believe everything everyone else says. It's like, we don't, but it's out there and it just has to be talked about. You know what I mean? Like, it could be wrong. It could be right. It doesn't, but we're going to talk about it. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean that we're really holding you accountable for this. You know what I mean? Unless we're losing and we look bad, then it's like, yeah, we're mad at you, Kevin Durant. That's just the way sports is. It's kind of, it's such a weird thing. It's just sports hate. It's nothing in real life, nothing personal. It's just all about sports. Spirits.
That's a good point, because I know among Suns podcasting folks, I've probably been one of the more critical of Kevin Durant. And it's not because I think he's bad at all. I understand he's one of the best, but it's like, you're elite. I want you to play elite ball.
Yes.
I don't want you to get 18 points and 5 rebounds. I want you to get 28 points and 10 rebounds. I want you to impact the game of winning. So, that sometimes when we talk about, player of the week or disappointment of the week, I've said he's disappointed me, probably more often than most, just because I'm like, he's got to do better. Like, is he one of the best players on the team? Yes. And I usually say Booker's the best, but as we've been talking about, maybe not this week.
Yeah.
No, I think that, it is interesting how the beef with the Stephen A. Smith stuff for Kevin Durant, for example, and where I think it was Stephen A. or somebody else basically pointed out, Kevin just doesn't like anyone at all in the media trying to, quote unquote, keep him accountable. You can't say anything critical about him. You just have to say he's been playing great. But that's not the media's job. And, I think as fans, we also don't want to be lied to. Don't tell me that Kevin Durant is just a phenomenal player if he's having a struggle fest. Don't tell me Devin Booker's the best player on the team when he's just having a terrible shooting streak, for a couple weeks in a row. Like, that's sports fandom. And I feel like things like Bright Side of the Sun, our podcasts are like, it's like group therapy. When we're winning, it's all great. When we're losing, help me understand why we're losing. That's what I think people, that's why we listen to sports talk radio, right? Help me understand why we're struggling.
Yeah. I mean, it's the only reason people really watch. I feel like it's for the drama. Like the best part of the NBA is, I feel like, the off season and all the trades and all that. The actual drama between trading players being unhappy, or are they going to get traded? Like, that's exciting. Let me see what they look like in this place. Like, that's it's like the soap opera version. Like, you love that. I feel like a lot of people love that more than actually watching the game. Like, the games are awesome, but the lead up to it is even more, I feel like, enticing nowadays.
Well, yeah, that's funny that you mentioned that, because I do play NBA 2K, and I will usually simulate the regular season, and then I'll play elimination games in the playoffs. And so I remember, and then, like, I spend so much time in the off season trying to, like, build the team up, prepare them for another chance to win in the next year. And I remember my buddy saying, "So you don't play the games?" I said, "No, I play in the playoffs." And he goes, "But just the elimination games?" I said, "Right." And he goes, "So what are you doing the rest of the time?" I go, "I simulate it, and then I make trades. I take a look at it." He goes, "So basically, you're playing Microsoft Excel spreadsheets, the video game." And I'm like, when you say it like that, it makes me sound like I waste my time. So
yeah, all of it's a waste of time. Sorry.
Yeah. But we've got a couple more games to talk about before we head out of here. So let's talk about the Kings 2.0. And it's going to sound a little bit like deja vu, because the Kings again drop 127 on the Phoenix Suns. But it was also because the Phoenix Suns did not have their full complement of players, as we were down Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, and Grayson Allen in this game. And it showed. In the end, the leading scorer for the Suns in this game was Josh Okogie, 25 points on 10 of 15 shooting, 3 of 4 from three-point land. Hey, way to go, Josh. Practicing maybe in the offseason a little bit more on that shot. 8 rebounds. So it was a solid game from him. Sacramento had their full, I guess, big three. Although DeMar DeRozan did leave in the third and did not come back. But they were led by De'Aaron Fox this game with 29 points on 11 of 17 shooting. So I guess my question to you guys on this game is, are the Kings good at defense, or are we just like not focused on putting the ball in the basket right now? Like just a shooting slump team wide?
I think for me, it's the lack of options for us, plus the defense that the Kings have put on Devin Booker. I mean, Keegan Murray was just abusing Book out there on defense, and of course, Devin Booker would be forced to pass, and the guys are not just not making shots. It's as simple as that. Plus, of course, unlike the first game that they played, Sabonis actually didn't have monster numbers. He had a double-double, but it's not really that, impactful, the gravity of it. It's just the other guys. Kevin Huerter here had I believe 22 points to add to Fox's 29, and Keegan Murray, going back to him, he had 17 points, 3 of 5 shooting from downtown. So
I feel like
I think it's
Huerter's
just
moving
that.
up the index on most punchable face. Like he's not there
Actually.
yet, but he's trying to break in the room.
Yeah.
He wants to get his face punched a little bit. Like that guy, he's scrappy. And if he's on our team, we'd love him. But he's not. So I kind of get pissed off with him.
That's true, but yeah, I think that's just how the game is. When you're down guys that are that have offensive prowess that's out of this world, then you leave Devin Book in there, and the defense is just going to swarm him, and you have to or the Suns have to rely on the other guys that usually don't shoot. Some of them shoot, but they can't make it.
Right. I mean, we're essentially down 3 of our top 4 offensive players with KD, Beal, and Allen out.
Grayson.
And then, as Hamo would say, Allen's the 3rd best player on the team, so that really hurts. Bradley Beal just being the lowly 4th man. But what do you think about the Kings game, Lissy?
It was so I know DeRozan didn't finish the game, so after halftime, something happened where he just didn't return. Hold on one second. Had to clear my throat. Did you hear that? Or did I mute myself?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
I wasn't quite sure what it was.
We saw it, but we didn't hear it.
Okay. So yeah, I'm back. Let's talk about how DeRozan was, he didn't show up in the second half. So okay, maybe the Suns have a chance and Booker could maybe go.
And we briefly took the lead in the third.
Yeah, well, we did, right? Maybe Booker can go head to head with Fox and take it. It's kind of upsetting at times because I'm always in the mindset, like we talked about, like Booker's the best team on this player. That's the way I was heading into the season. And then when he actually has the opportunity to really lead this team by himself, I mean, the doubles come, everything happens, but it's like, come on, can we figure something out to where this will work, where we can get him into his spots to get him going? It's just kind of frustrating to watch at times because I'm like, I just want to count on this guy to get us victories if there's injuries. But obviously it's just too much for this dude. If it was Kevin Durant, maybe it probably still wouldn't be able to win.
That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah, if it was Kevin Durant, not just
until Pippen showed up. That we spent a lot of years in the bottom standings, right? When it was just the Devin Booker show. So we've seen it before. It's tough to win when it's your only offensive threat that can threaten you from anywhere on the court. Sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead.
No. I was just saying, these games where, you're just going to evidently lose. Like, we're not used to it this season. It just started to take place this last week where we were comfortable. Like, oh my God, we're not the same Suns as last year. Now it's like with injuries. It's like, okay, well, if we're down, we're not going to actually probably win this game. We're going to be down by 5 or 6. We're not going to have a chance to come back and win because of the injuries. But that's just all it is. It's like if we have our team fully healthy, we're competitive. And I think our point differential was like 3 points, plus 3 points when we started out 9-1 this season. Or, I'm sorry, 8-1. But that just shows we're still very competitive, but we had a very tough outing against a lot of these teams. So I think it was the hardest winning percentage to go against in the first 8 to 9 games this season. So having that
the rest of the season, we're second. I just took a look at yesterday or 2 days ago.
Oh, really? Yeah. So I mean, this team's had a lot. they've
Yeah.
had a lot to face like the first part of the season. So I'm really proud of who they are before the injuries. So I'm trying to just kind of focus on that and just not rely on like, hey, can Booker win this game? Please win it for me. So I look right about him being the best player, because it's going to be almost impossible when you're counting on Ryan Dunn, Josh Okogie to hit threes, even though Okogie did go off in this game. But if you're consistently looking for that, it's going to be very tough.
Right. Let's talk a little bit about the Oklahoma City Thunder game, where, I mean,
Do we have
it
to?
was close. in the
Did you guys
first
even watch this?
3 minutes? I
I
was in
was
and
doing
out.
laundry and stuff. I was like, this one's over.
You know what's funny? I caught a moment where Nurk got called for a moving screen, and I was watching it, and John had talked about it on Suns Jam recently about how he swings his hip out and clips way too many people, and as soon as he gets called, he was arguing it, and the Suns broadcast team's like, well, I think he might have swung his hip out a little bit to try and clip that guy, and they said, and he also kind of ducked his shoulder down. He needs to square up on these people and not do that. Like, we're lucky he's gotten called just as rarely as he has. Like, somebody comes, he swings that big old butt out to try and get just a little bit more of a wall to have to go around.
I think for screening, he has to take a page out of Aaron Baines's book.
There you go.
Or
one of the best screeners.
There we go. Another throwback backup big man name that the Suns fans love.
Was the starter too.
We talked about it. It wasn't great in terms of being down again. Beal, we were down. Durant, of course. Grayson Allen was out. We did have Nurk. He went 0 for 7. So didn't have 4
small
points.
lineup.
But Devin Booker, 12 points. We were led again by Josh Okogie with 15. Josh Okogie's on fire, 2 games, leading our team in scoring. 9 rebounds. God, that guy hustles. But the Oklahoma City Thunder, yes, they were down Chet Holmgren. They were down Isaiah Hartenstein. But that's really kind of Alex Caruso was out as well. But, I mean, to me, this team is so deep. They still had Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who led them with 28 points. Jalen Williams, 14 points, and Lugetz Dort chipped in 15 as well, and 9 rebounds. So it would have been a miracle, very impressive had we won. But it just didn't happen this game. That's for sure. So let me ask you guys a little question, and Lissy, that you'll get a kick out of this. It's kind of similar to what you guys do.
Richard, what's happening?
So it's kind of like Matthew, I've got to ask, but this was just my attempt at trying to create some new drops. And I was like, I just like the movie Tommy Boy, so I just started bringing in stuff from Tommy Boy. But my question for you guys is the shooting this week. So let me tell you guys a little bit about how that went. Against the first game against the Kings, where we lost, we shot just under 42% from the field, just under 32% from 3. The Jazz game we won, just shot just under 49%, just under 40 from 3. So makes a lot of sense. Then we played the Kings again, 37% shooting, 30% from 3. And then against the Thunder last night, oh my goodness, 39.6% from the field, 25% from 3. Is it defense or is it offense right now? Like, are we facing good defenses, or are we just missing too many offensive threats?
To me, I'll just go really quick. I think that Royson really hit it on the head. He's like, we have a lot of good looks. I think last game against the Oklahoma City Thunder last night, the first half, there was a lot of good looks. I think the ball movement was pretty decent. It wasn't too bad. It wasn't like we were having just a hard time. I think Book with the doubles, that was pretty rough to get out of at times, because the doubles would just come swarm him, and then he would be stuck, and he would just be like, all right, well, short arm pass, short arm shot after that, because the defense would just rotate so quickly. So it was tough for the Suns to actually continue to get good looking shots, but they did have opportunities when they were open. I just think it's just a lot of pressure on these guys to hit these shots, because they know like what they're going up against. So maybe that is leaking into their head. They're just like, well, if we're struggling from the field, it's gonna be a tough game. Obviously, our defense can only do so much, and this OKC team will get to a 40-point lead. It wasn't that bad, but it was like once OKC got the 20-point lead, you kind of just knew it was over. They made a few runs here or there, but you just kind of knew the game was going to be over in the third quarter. But I think there were a lot of good opportunities for this team. I think they're still doing a good job moving the ball. I think they're still doing a good job finding good shots. It's just they don't have the right guys right now to hit those shots. And there's not going to be a guy on the team, Kogi did 2 games ago, like we just mentioned, that are going to go off and just keep this team in the game, because we just don't have that right now.
Well, and I think, JC brought up, the one good takeaway is seeing that Jo is regaining a little bit of his confidence on the offensive side of things. I think one thing that we were very impressed with early on this season was how much deeper we looked compared to last year.
Yeah. Yes.
And right now we're desperate for that depth, and we're kind of being reminded that no, those guys are great backups to come in. If you have to play a ton of them starter minutes, then you're going to start to realize how limited you are. Is that kind of your understanding of it, Kev?
Yeah, I think if you lose Grayson Allen, who's come off the bench pretty much all the season, you're taking away that depth. I think Royce O'Neal is great, but he's kind of streaky. Couple of games, few games, he's been like off, I should say. But when he's really hit, I think there's like no like in between when it comes to his offensive game. It's like some nights he's gonna hit all the shots, but some nights he can even hit a layup. So I think that's what his game is. But the second unit obviously has taken a hit with Grayson Allen out, and some of these guys just have to really step up.
Well, like I said, it was a tough week going 1-3. Took care of business against the Jazz. So, like I said, that's you got to win the ones that are the low hanging fruit for sure. Especially as you kind of wait to get healthy. But I was hoping for a more exciting week to drop this, but Josh put a lot of effort into this, and we are no longer going to be doing the Sunwalker of the Week award. We got a new one. Josh, show the people what you've been working on.
Shazam!
The Shazam Player of the Week,
nice.
An ode to our boy, the man that looks out over the sun's planet, Al McCoy, with the Shazam Player of the Week. Quick question for you guys before we say who our Shazam Player of the Week is. Do you guys know what Shazam stands for?
Is it for Shaq?
I know, but that's a good guess too.
Okay.
Is that for like a magic, kind of like Avada Kedavra?
Kind of. I mean, there's magic involved, right? So, gosh, now I'm blanking on it. Now, hold on.
Let me take another guess.
You guys know, because I don't know.
Let me take another guess. There you go.
It's so Al McCoy's a big comic book fan. Growing up in Iowa, heyo, shout out. And Captain Marvel would always say Shazam to turn in from his regular work, regular guy to, if you've seen the movies, to the big buff like superhero. And Shazam is actually a collection of like Greek gods, and also I think to like lengthen it out, they added an S to be like Solomon, who is the king of Israel. But yes, it's Shazam, the wisdom of Solomon. The H is the strength of Hercules. A, the stamina of Atlas. Z, the power of Zeus. A, the courage of Achilles. And M, the speed of Mercury. So who this week?
Wow.
Who this
what a
Shazam
bad week for that.
called upon all of the Greek gods and the Jewish king guy. You got, because otherwise it'd be Hazam, and you're not going to go with that. You want Shazam, right? Yeah. So who was your Shazam Player of the Week?
I'll go with Kogi.
All right, J.O.
I'll go Kogi too.
Ooh.
That's when you know it's a bad week.
No, exactly. As I'm like looking through the numbers again, I'm just like
nothing bad.
Yeah.
Towards,
Let me help you out with the numbers, Jake. The last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games that ever since he came back, 11.4 points per game. shooting 42% from downtown and 52% overall in the field. So those are like good numbers.
Well, Suns Fever, those are like good numbers, is a great way of saying it. Those are like good numbers. Yeah, absolutely. And Suns Fever joins you guys saying JO player of the week. I'm going to go on the record and say absolutely. It's a clean sweep for Josh Okogie, busting his tail to try and keep us in these games. I like how JC and Chile says it. JO with the less bad player of the week. Absolutely. But hey, if we can get these other guys firing on all cylinders, we won't have to give the award to Jo. But for right now, Jo, Josh Okogie, okie dokie, Josh Okogie gets the win. So a quick look at the schedule ahead for the next slate of games. We actually play today, and we'll be playing
Tomorrow, right?
Minnesota Wolves. Or excuse me, that's right, tomorrow,
I was like,
Sunday.
they better not be, they have plans.
You're actually busy now.
4 games in 5 nights. Oh my goodness.
Oh God, yeah. So we'll have a little bit of a slowdown. Well, not quite yet, but we'll play the Timberwolves tomorrow in Minnesota before we go back to Phoenix right after that game to play the Orlando Magic in Phoenix, and then the New York Knicks will come and visit us on Wednesday. The Mikal Bridges return with a semi-competent team. I don't know. The Knicks have been kind of up and down.
Yeah,
and then we are off until Tuesday of Thanksgiving week, so we'll get a little bit of a healing break in here, thank goodness.
That is
so
awesome.
quick predictions before we go. What's the record going to be? Again, we've got the T-Wolves, we've got the Magic, and then we've got the Knicks halfway through the week.
I think the Suns, they can be, 10-6 after this. I'm going to say they go 1-2.
Okay.
Just get to that break. Get healthy again. I say just about 1 win.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And I'm sorry, which one do you think we're going to win on?
Minnesota.
Minnesota, okay.
Yeah.
I'd like some vengeance against the T-Wolves since last year. Kev, what do you think?
I'd go that route as well. I think the Magic are just an elite team right now, but we can beat. Oh, you know what? I'll go 2-3.
2-3.
I'd say
we're gonna have 5 games this week.
Oh, sorry.
2-1.
2-1. Sorry.
Yeah. 2 wins in the 3 games. I read it. Yeah.
Math is not mathing right now. 2-1.
It happens past midnight every night. Yeah, absolutely.
We win against the Wolves and we win against the Knicks. Hopefully, Jalen Brunson doesn't drop 50 on us once again. But yeah, I'd say we win T-Wolves and the Knicks. But I'm kind of worried about that Magic game because they're huge and they play defense and we all Booker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I'm gonna side with Lissy on this one. I think it's gonna be 1-2. It's one of those heart, versus head deal. Like my heart had Mike Tyson winning last night. My head said, it's just so old that Paul's gonna hang in there and actually win this thing. To me, it's a little bit like that. I think normally a 2-1 week makes a lot of sense, even potentially 3-0. But we're just so banged up right now, and the games start tomorrow, and then we play immediately the next night against the Magic. So I think if we can go 1-2, that's going to be okay for me. Get these guys healthy, get them back. That's the most important thing. But hey, appreciate you guys showing up today, and all the Planeteers in the chat. Great show. And we learned a little bit more about Suns Jam and Mr. Matthew Lissy. Oh, the final question before you tell the folks where they can follow you, Matt, is we didn't get any Gambit. We didn't get any Valley Girl Lissy. Like, where are you coming up with these characters? Can you tell us, do you have any new ones in the hopper that are coming on soon? Because I think that's a big hit on Suns Jam.
Yeah, the Valley Girl was a big one. I don't know if I can go back to that one. But my next one is Boris Dirk, I think. And it's Doris Burke, but it's just going to be me. I think I can do a good impression. So I think I try to find something I can do a good impression with, but Gambit's just really difficult. It's gonna take me some time. I have to really be confident in that voice, and it's very difficult to do. So that's hard to read stuff trying to do his accent. Have you seen who's
been playing him on the big screen? Like, that guy had zero confidence in I'm going to make a name for myself. And I was like, that's Cajun? Oh, that's brutal. That's brutal.
Yeah. I didn't think he was that bad, but
oh God, I feel like I feel like whatever you think Gambit should sound like is going to be more accurate than what he tried to make Gambit sound like.
I know. I totally agree.
All right. Well, where can the folks follow you for more great content?
At Suns GM, I don't have a Twitter anymore, so follow them there. Follow me there. Obviously, you guys are with Bright Side of the Sun, writing there, and then we go live after every game. But YouTube, go ahead and subscribe there. Oh, sorry, my voice cracked there.
That's okay.
Can you edit that out? Is that possible?
Yeah, absolutely. We're not live.
Okay.
This is totally pre-recorded. Yeah, that's
all right. I appreciate that.
Kev, where can the folks follow you? And you've got an announcement for us.
Oh, yes, sir. So, Planeteers, yours truly will be away from this main show, every Saturday, up until at least January.
Sending him down to the G League, folks.
Yeah, we'll be in the G League. Oh, God. But yeah, due to some personal stuff that me and wifey had to take care of. So I will miss you guys, definitely. People in the chat, JC, Zero, and the other guys as well. So you won't find me here next Saturday, but yes, you will see me with all the game reactions that I do. And I'm thinking about going live for those short videos. So tune into those to the upcoming games or shows, rather, post games, not to compete with the Suns Jam, Mr. Lissy.
That's fine.
I go late at night, very late at night, probably Philippine time.
Late at night, because what's the name of your recap show?
Was that?
You can say it out loud.
No, I don't want to say
Sensual Salute. The white
there
doesn't
we
like
go.
when we call it that, but hey, that's what it is. Folks, turn it in. You get sensual with Kevin Salute.
Nice.
Yes,
Absolutely.
so you I'll be back sometime in January, and I'll see you guys there. Oh, and you can find me at I'm Kevin PS. That's my Twitter handle, and some of my stuff are in Bright Side of the Sun as well. Although I haven't written in weeks, so but I write from time to time. And Jake, don't forget about the Bright Side Night, please.
Oh, absolutely. Brightside Night. Dave King, Brightside Night is coming up, sports fans. And that's actually going to be earlier this year. Oh my gosh, why am I looking at the wrong page? It doesn't have the date on it, does it? It's coming up. I know it's against the Atlanta Hawks. Matthew, do you know what day the
It's in February, I know that.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
I knew it was
I'm
coming
not good at
up.
remembering stuff.
Yeah. So go ahead and donate to Dave King's Brightside Night. Go to brightsideofthesun.com to learn a little bit more about that. Help send some kids that wouldn't normally be able to make it to a Suns game. Help make it possible so they can get in, see some of these favorite players. And hopefully by February, we'll be healthy. Take some time off, guys.
Hopefully.
I'm Jake. You can follow me at Fallen Founder. Obviously, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Share the show when you can. If you think it's great content, we appreciate it. You can also support the team by buying us a round of beer over at buymeacoffee.com. But we use the beer emoji on there because I think we're more beer drinkers, except for Josh, except for Huntstar. So he'll share his beer with us. Maybe a kombucha. Josh, do you drink kombucha at all?
No.
buy three of us a beer and buy Josh a tea or a coffee. Whatever you feel is appropriate, but check us out there if you like the show. That's one great way to support us. Other than that, that's all I got. Thanks again from Mr. Matthew Lissy and Al McCoy. Take us home, buddy.
Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, stay with us as the Suns get set to shine here on their home court.
Here's Perry. Cigar Hurd. Here's the jump shot. Good! It's good!
Al McCoy with you courtside. Bumped up a three.
Shazam! He ties it. ADA. Al and Tim up here.
Happy birthday!
Right. Yeah.
I know it's the moment. Happy birthday, baby!
Here's Cameron Payne out on top. Durant, three-pointer straight away.
Shazam! I just want to take this opportunity to thank everyone in this arena this afternoon, to all of those that are watching and listening on radio and TV. Thank you for allowing me to tell the story of the Suns for 51 great years.
That pretty much wraps things up here. And for one last time, this is Al McCoy saying thanks for being there. Thanks for being with us tonight. And from the Footprint Center here in downtown Phoenix, we'll just say so long for now.